Hello and welcome to a beautiful Saturday evening in Toronto. I'm walking at a distance with John and Elena on the Guildwood Park boardwalk, which travels through the natural area of Guildwood Park here in Scarborough area of Toronto. Hello everyone from the Scarborough area of Toronto. I'm here with John and Elena on a social distancing walk. Elena, where are we?
We're at Guildwood Park.
Yes, here we are at Guildwood Park on the top of the beautiful Scarborough Bluffs here in the Scarborough area of Toronto, only a few minutes from my house. And the Guild Park has a very interesting history. This land here was originally owned by a couple, the Clarks, and they lived in the historic house you see here, which is now an event space. And they built up this whole area as an artist colony, and artists would come here and do art in various studios that were placed around the property here at the top of the bluffs. And Mr. Clark was very interested and upset that Toronto was demolishing a lot of its historic buildings in the 60s and 70s to put up new ones, as Toronto was booming at the time. And so he would go to building sites and take pieces of the old buildings as they were demolished, and he erected them here as a graveyard to the historic buildings Toronto lost. So as we walk through the park, you'll see pieces of old Toronto that were salvaged and erected here as a remembrance of the many more grand old buildings we used to have here in the city. Unfortunately, the artist colony did end about 25 or 30 years ago, and the city of Toronto, thankfully, is actually constructing a new artist studio now on this site. And so artists will be returning here shortly. Hello from Guildwood Park. Straight ahead of us is a piece of the old Bank of Toronto building that stood downtown at King and Bay Streets. And it was replaced by one of Toronto's first modern skyscrapers, the Toronto Dominion Centre. And Elena, what building is this?
Imperial Bank of Canada. North of Bloor Street.
So this is the old Imperial Bank of Canada, or a piece of the old Imperial Bank of Canada building at near Bloor and Yonge Street. Elena is very interested in our city's history and doesn't like that Toronto is unfortunately repeating the mistakes of the 60s and 70s and knocking down a lot of our historic buildings again, right, Elena?
Yeah. I think there's nothing wrong with preserving history and finding ways to build around it.
That's true. So hopefully we can enact some change and do a better job moving forward here. Hello from the Guildwood Park in the Scarborough area of Toronto. Hi, John and Elena.
Hello.
We're doing a physical distance walk through the beautiful Guild Park grounds here on the top of the Scarborough Bluffs, about 20 minutes east of downtown. So, John, what a big piece of a building do we have in front of us here?
This one? Bank of Toronto.
Yep, this is another piece of the Bank of Toronto building that used to stand at King and Bay downtown, and it is now used as an amphitheater, and they do concerts here in the park in the summer. So, John, where are these gates from?
And the terracotta stonework is from the Produce Exchange Building, Scott and Colburn Street in Toronto.
Yeah, so these gates take you right onto the top of the Scarborough Bluffs. John, are you going to take us through? So here we are at the top of the Scarborough Bluffs. Lake Ontario is below us. Ina, do you know what this log cabin over here is?
I don't know.
So this is said to be the oldest building in the Scarborough area of Toronto. And it represents, or is an example of, the old log cabins that many settlers in the Scarborough area used to live in when they started settling the lands here east of downtown Toronto. So this log cabin is said to have been built in 1795. And John's going to tell us who lived here.
Augustus Jones.
And what did he do?
He was commissioned by John Marie Simcoe to survey Scarborough.
That's right. So our first land surveyor in Scarborough lived here.
William Osterhout received the first crown grant of the land from King George III.
So there you go. He got the land directly from the king.
Is there an Osterhout?
So the old architectural remnants you see here is actually a small collection that is actually out and open to the public. There's apparently hundreds of pieces that are in storage yet and have not been placed in the park. And as part of the renovation and restoration of this park, the City of Toronto may be bringing more pieces out and erecting them in the park or elsewhere in the neighborhood.
Bank of Nova Scotia.
Where's that from, John?
Bank of Nova Scotia.
Where?
89 King Street West.
Here, John, do you have a picture?
John, where's this from?
Toronto Star Building.
Yep, at King and Bay. This, unfortunately, was demolished for Canada's current tallest office tower, the First Canadian Place, back in the early 70s. Well, thanks for coming on a tour with us, everyone, to Guildwood Park. We'll wave bye to John and Elena.